Hey there, so today I want to return to the fertile fields of Doctor Who and talk about the diminishing returns when it comes to audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Now before beginning, I want to give a shout out to a channel and I want to bring up a point that they noted. Nerdrotic, if you haven't checked them out, definitely a great channel as far as entertainment is concerned, and they brought up something when talking about Orville. They were bringing up how the critics' scores, they mean nothing, which we all pretty much know that anyhow, but they were talking about the discrepancy between critics and audience. In that, it was reversed. You had critics that were panning something, and you had audiences that loved it. And it's interesting to look at that, because critics, you have to ask exactly what they bring to the table these days. What exactly they're scoring on. What's their formula? For Doctor Who, if you look at what they score something on, yeah, it's really telling. It's also really telling what they consider something that they quote-unquote certify fresh. I mean, if you go in and you look at these ratings, these reviews here, you'll notice that 37 of them are considered fresh and 1 rotten. So really, when you see that 94%, it means that one person decided to deviate from the status quo. Now, when you're looking at that too, that's okay. But when you see why they decide to vote this show up, they decide to vote it up because it's supposedly new and original. It has political themes that it brings in. Basically, they applaud the soapbox. Now, if you go in and you listen to BBC these days, that's exactly what BBC has been aiming for. In fact, they decided at one time to get in an argument with certain people from Monty Python, and they decided to tell you exactly what they thought about old school programming versus newer programming. They said that comedy troupes, for example, they had to reflect the world outside your window. They couldn't be like the old Monty Python setups. They had to reflect quote-unquote diversity. Now, of course, Monty Python, their people, they decided to respond to that, saying that this isn't a factory. You put together people, they have a certain brand or a certain sense of humor. They go together and, well, they do a good job. If you go out and you try to perform something or promote something for some other reason, well, it doesn't work out. And that's what you see here. You see the same idea reflected with Doctor Who, but you're taking Doctor Who and you're adding ideas into it that are supposed to reflect this current status quo idea. And while you're doing that, you're not adding what really attracts audiences, aka the whole thing behind Doctor Who, good storytelling. Now, when you look at this diminishing return on scores, the reason that I want to return to it is that I thought 30% was actually low. But if you look at the user ratings that are flowing in, you have 5,580 that have come in, and that average rating, it's 1.8 out of 5. Now, when I'm talking about this, I really hope that people do not campaign and go out and simply try to knock down a number. Some people do that. They go out. You saw that with the positive side. You actually saw calls for that with the cartoon She-Ra. Again, not saying that you can't like or dislike it, but you had someone go out, the person that put it together, and say, hey, we need to vote that up to show those terrible wrong thinkers. With this, I don't want that on either side, so I always look at what people are saying. And I have to say that I agree with a lot of what people throw out there. When you're looking at ratings, I always like looking at the reviews. When you're showrunner, they sacrifice good story writing for PC, leftist, feminist propaganda. If you're enjoying new Doctor Who from season 1 to season 9, skip season 10 and 11 altogether. There is no longer Doctor Who. Then you look at reviews like this. We all thought season 10 was bad and it couldn't possibly get any worse. Boy, did they prove us wrong. I have to say that I definitely agree with that. Jodie can't pull off the Doctor, which has nothing to do with her gender. See, the thing is, the advertisement was all on gender, and if I've learned anything about something, that really showcases that you're probably going to have a lot of impact where it comes from this one thing. They think that one selling point, that it comes at the expense of everything else. And what's amazing is if you bring that up, if you talk about that, well, go out and look at videos I've done for, say, Captain Marvel. If you bring that kind of stuff up, you go and mention it, well, you're talking about something it shouldn't come up. So the sales ploy is, of course, based on gender, but if your response, if you mention it, even if you mention hey, it has nothing to do with it, well, you're probably some kind of monster. But anyhow, continuing. So they say with nothing to do with your gender, she just can't pull off acting. More importantly, showrunner can't write proper Who. Someone apparently fired all the lore masters and continuity keepers. Yeah, I mean, there you go. That's actually true. Now, they make lovely music that is not suited for the series at all and does nothing for the tone. Wash and Cole are the only highlights because despite the terrible scripts, they still act masterfully. Couldn't tell you how Gil's acting is because Yaz does nothing and is basically screen filler for the entirety of the series. Congratulations! You're the Kathleen Kennedy of Doctor Who now. How does it feel to single-handedly destroy a beloved franchise? Now you have to ask yourself, when people start reflecting that, what is your response? The BBC has been to double down, to triple down, and on. And it says something within that. It does look like what they're talking about with Star Wars when you get down to it. When you have people that step up and they say, hey, we don't like this, how exactly do you meet that? Well, you know, the Star Wars folks, they decided to meet it with accusations of phobeist. Recently, I actually read something where they were talking about how they don't have to service the mainstay fan. They're actually out there trying to pull in people that aren't hardcore fans. You know, the people that are guaranteed to spend money? Yeah, those people don't matter because you can't run them off, apparently. I mean, is that what they're reflecting here? And how do you pull this stuff back after you see reviews like this? Here's another one here. This show is not Doctor Who anymore. The aliens in the series were purely decorative with no actual effect in the story. There you go. The companions were uninteresting, yes, possibly because there were too many to properly deal with. Finally, the Doctor does not have the certainty, the power, and the wit of previous incarnations had. Sorry to see the end of a great show. Jodie Whitaker's portrayal of the Doctor has destroyed decades of work of others who have built this character. Another one. Again, I don't want to put too many in here, but I want to show the theme that people are reflecting. And with you watch it, like I say, you know, you don't have to agree with this. If you think these people are wrong here, voice that. Put that in comments. You know, you can also voice that in reviews. I mean, really go out, talk about the pros, talk about the cons, talk about what you really think there. Remembering too, if you put in certain things that talk about, say, PC or leftism, as some of them put there, it will probably get scrubbed later on. But continuing, following the adventures of time-traveling alien called the Doctor and his companions as they deal with crises set on Earth and other worlds. No, following the adventures of time-traveling, now no longer alien for whatever reason, but now an actually human gender called the Doctor and companions as they deal with crises set on Earth and other worlds, which have nothing really to do with aliens, as they're always added as an afterthought. So saying pretty much sloppy writing. Boil that down. Political show hijacking children's minds. Can't we keep politics out of fantasy sci-fi? Also a Doctor that for the first time ever has somehow 100% conviction and no inner doubts. Misses the reality of life, the lesson that has been present throughout Doctor Who, but that apparently doesn't come to feminists as they are all 100% indoctrinated like a religion. Actually, I like the comment about not having any type of internalized doubt. That is something that the Doctor has always thrown out there. You know, they've always had that. So, another one here. This program has declined sharply since showrunner took over as showrunner. It should be clear that from the first episodes of Doctor Who, he's written that it is not good fit for the show. I hope he leaves soon, and maybe Doctor Who can find a better showrunner. Someone that can make the Doctor fun without looking as though they're trying too hard. Okay, here you have a positive within that. Some annoying pacing issues and occasionally lacking weighty threat, but overall entertaining and exciting. I particularly love the historical, which remind me of classic Who. So, I mean, here's somebody that thinks, hey, you know, despite these issues with pacing and despite the issues, you know, that come up with actual threats, hey, I still like that. You know, it's entertaining there. Too much politics. So you can see one page bunch of reviews here. And then again, if you're going to go through and you're going to look at exactly what's there, well, you see more and more of these coming in with your average rating again at 1.8 out of 5. Now, again, remember that's scrubbing a lot of reviews in there. So where is your score actually? It makes you wonder. I'm wondering too if this thing will actually go under 20%. Like I say, a week ago or so, maybe 2 weeks ago, I talked about that, and it was at 30%. Actually, I think it was 7 days ago. So you're talking about 1 week, 7% decline. Will it go under 20%? It probably really has when you look at, again, scrubbed reviews. Now, when you look at that critical rating, again, average rating 7.36 versus, again, your average rating. I mean, when you think about that, that would have been like a 3.6 here if you're going with an average rating versus an average rating of over double that. So your critics are giving over double for the average rating. Average episode rating, 91% there. The series reviews, again, only 1 rotten. And it's amazing, too, when you go out and you look at some of them. Some of them will say 2 out of 5, certified fresh, great. Love the politics, love the fact that they changed up this one thing. They will mention gender. And, of course, they would also deflect and say, anyone bringing that up, as a deflection point, saying it focuses too much on this versus story. Yeah, that's terrible. But anyhow, you tell me what you think about this stuff. And tell me, do you think, honestly, it falls under 20%? And does it deserve it? There's another question. Does this deserve exactly where it's at now? Like I said, let me know. Also, if you like this kind of content, please consider supporting the channel. Sub, like, hit that bell. I cover all kinds of things in entertainment. Some things are serious, some things are more lightweight, but all of it builds this hodgepodge of a snapshot of where we are right now, what the industry looks like, what needs to be changed with different types of entertainment industries versus what kind of changes you're really getting. And some of those questions, when you bring them up, what should we get versus what we get? Yeah. Also, there are other links within the description if you want to support the channel that way. Appreciate you checking those out. But leave comments, return for daily material, and above all, thank you for tuning in.